Essay number 64. The most taboo thing in our culture is radical honesty, and that's exactly the problem. We are suffocating ourselves to death with politeness. And before you get offended by that statement, which, let's be honest, you might, that reaction is exactly what I'm talking about. We live in a culture that has made honesty the enemy. We've created a world where telling the truth is considered meaner than lying to someone's face, where we're more offended by a woman's nipple or a curse word than we are by global famine, endless war, or the systematic destruction of our planet. We've built an entire society on the foundation of fake smiles and hollow "how are yous" and "I'm fine" when we're dying inside. And then we wonder why everyone's depressed, anxious, and desperately lonely. Let me tell you what's actually happening here. We call opinions that don't immediately harmonize with ours offensive, and use that word like a weapon to silence anything that makes us uncomfortable. We police people into only saying and doing things that make sense to us, that fit into our narrow view of acceptable behavior. We were raised in a culture that taught us to put ourselves last, even when putting other people first is fake and disingenuous and rooted in resentment and dishonesty. We learn to smile when we want to scream, to say yes when we mean no, to show up for things that drain our souls because not showing up would be rude. And now we're all dying of some untouched, unrealized internal loneliness, desperately grasping onto bits of writing and music and art that speak the truths we're not allowed to say out loud. We're suffering from anxiety and depression and bone-deep loneliness and crushing uncertainty, but we have to keep painting an outward picture of having it all together. The inability to acknowledge these natural, crucial parts of life is what makes them unbearable. It's not the sadness that kills us, it's pretending we're not sad. It's not the fear that paralyzes us, it's pretending we're brave. Nobody is honest, so nobody is finding anybody who actually loves them for who they are. They're only finding people who love their carefully constructed shells, and shells, as we all know, break easily. Think about how many of your relationships hinge on whether or not you continually fulfill a set of expectations, some spoken, most unspoken. Your fear of honesty isn't really about hurting other people's feelings. It's about no longer being acceptable or wanted or loved by people who claim to care about you. We associate doing what we want and putting ourselves first with being selfish. We're taught that what we should want is whatever makes others happy. But let me ask you something. Do you really want people in your life who secretly don't want to be there? Do you want friends who resent you? Partners who stay out of obligation? Is it really surprising that we're all lost and scrambling and disconnected from ourselves when we're taught to ignore our instincts and truths for the sake of someone else's comfort? It's not mean to tell the truth. We're just not used to hearing anything other than what we want to hear. We've decided that anything that isn't coddling and placating and perfectly aligned with our most comforting delusions is wrong. Truthfulness and meanness have become synonymous because as long as people aren't doing and saying exactly what we want to see and hear, they're hurting our feelings. But here's what you need to understand. The people who shout the loudest about how you need to behave are the very people who have most deeply had their lives destroyed by doing what other people wanted. They listened to the voices that shouted at them, and for that, they got emptiness. The very emptiness that their words are now echoing out of. At our core, there is only light. I guarantee there is not one person you wouldn't love if you knew their true story, their whole story, if you lived a day in their shoes. But we can't expect understanding when we're all hiding behind facades. How can we expect people to treat others as equals when everyone's constantly feeling beneath someone else's fake perfection? The root of equality, real equality, is being honest about the human condition. The only way to change our society, to open closed minds, to shift how we perceive gender and race and humanity itself, is by getting it all on the table. Instead, we're talking in circles, affirming only with people who already agree with us, never trying to understand where the people who don't are coming from. This isn't change, this is ego steroids. We place so much value on helping others and being selfless, forcing people to volunteer when they don't want to, demanding kindness that isn't genuine. But fake kindness is worse than honest indifference. It makes the world worse. It's the root of resentment and ill will and self-hatred and bigotry and prejudice. Often the kindest things we experience are the moments when someone cared more about who we were than how our feelings would be hurt. When someone told us the truth that saved us or showed us some otherwise invisible reality. Often the way we are kindest to ourselves is by saying no. Often the things we are most grateful for are the ones that were the most trying, the most challenging, the most uncomfortable. So say no when you want to say no. Speak precisely and kindly, but directly when you see a friend about to make a choice that will destroy their life, instead of walking away and discussing it with everyone but them. Leave the house where you're not wanted. There are ways to pay the rent. There is no way to make somebody love you when they don't. Say how you feel before it stays in the darkness so long that it becomes the foundation on which the rest of your life is built, and then collapses. Tell the people you love that you love them. Tell the people you don't that you don't, and let them find people who really do. Dig deep into the untouched abyss of yourself and see what you come out with. First, it will be the unhealed wounds you didn't know you had. Second, it will be the light and love and passion underneath them. Third, it will be the desire to take those things and build something remarkable. Evaluate your choices not by how other people will perceive them, but by how aligned they are with your deepest, truest self. Rise and say, "This is who I am, even if you'll crucify me for it," in the very way so many religious and political and social leaders have, even though their fans and followers are often the very ones doing the crucifying. Give to others what you most need, which, more often than not, is to say this: you are not loved by everybody, but that does not mean you are not loved at all. You are not the most beautiful, but being the most beautiful is not what matters most. You are bound by nothing but your own fear, so you will not find freedom anywhere but within yourself. Everybody suffers. Not everybody comes out on the other end shimmering and ready to let that light shine through the darkness. Not everybody has the guts to be truthful, but everybody has the capacity to. And here's the greatest irony, the most profoundly cunning thing of all. The very love and passion and acceptance we are seeking exists nowhere else but within our own unbridled honesty. The connection you're craving, it's on the other side of telling the truth. The love you're seeking, it's waiting for you to be real enough to receive it. The freedom you want, it's in saying what you actually think, feeling what you actually feel, being who you actually are. We're dying of dishonesty. We're suffocating on pleasantries. We're drowning in the gap between who we are and who we pretend to be. The cure isn't more pretending. It's not better masks or more convincing performances. The cure is radical, uncomfortable, terrifying honesty. The cure is letting yourself be seen, really seen, flaws and fears and failures and all. The cure is stop asking what will they think and start asking what is true. Because the truth, even when it hurts, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it burns everything down, is the only thing that can set us free. So go to it, let it breathe, let it burn, let it build something real from the ashes of everything fake. The world doesn't need another perfect person. It needs another honest one. Be that person. Start today. Start now. Start with the next words out of your mouth.